Beginning with the greatest name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, whose blessings are uncountable and whose being is eternal. Assalamu alaikum. I hope everyone is doing great. I am Muhammad Shahir Mustafa from ACM UET Lahore. I will be your host for today's webinar. Moving forward, I humbly welcome you all to this webinar that is organized by the ACM UET Student Chapter. Our today's collaborator for this webinar is DSC UET. I humbly express my gratitude for them. Association of Computing Machinery is a US-based international society for computing. This kind of online webinars and sessions organized by ACM UET will bridge the gap between the students and the computing communities. ACM UET aims toward the enlightenment of young minds. This webinar is all about artificial intelligence. We will explore the basics of AI and how one can plan the implementation of AI projects. Further, I would like to mention that we will have enough time in the end for the Q&A session. You can put your queries in the chat box too. We will do our best to answer as many questions as we can. We will also share the feedback form link during the webinar. Make sure to fill it in, as certificates will only be awarded to those participants who will share their kind feedback with us. Now, let me introduce our worthy speaker for today's webinar. Mr. Muhammad Amir Khan will be with us. He is an IBM certified data science professional and machine learning expert. He did computer engineering from the National University of Sciences and Technology, in short NUST. He has 3 years of experience in AI and has done over 50 data science and machine learning projects and certifications. And now he has been working as a data analyst at Keep Trucking. Sir, we are grateful to have you. Can we formally start today's webinar?
Thank you so much, Shahir, for the introduction. And yes, we can start to tell you about. I would like to break down the session into a few components or few parts. So first of all, so the idea is to give you an overview of artificial intelligence and a subset of artificial intelligence, that is machine learning. So we will talk about the artificial intelligence and one of its subsets, which is machine learning, because it is the one which is most commonly used in the industry right now. So first of all, we will walk through the basics of artificial intelligence, like what is artificial intelligence, and what are the benefits that we are getting from artificial intelligence in different fields, like in gaming industry or in health industry or other industries. After looking into these aspects, we will jump into the part of the presentation which will talk about how is artificial intelligence achieved, like how are the machines made artificially intelligent, what is the process behind making them artificially intelligent, right? So and that part will be basically covering the machine learning, basics of machine learning. So starting with the artificial intelligence first, then machine learning, and then we will talk about how a person can learn machine learning and apply and make machines artificially intelligent, or what is the roadmap of AI these days, right? So artificial intelligence. So these are the contents that we will quickly cover in the introduction to artificial intelligence part, a definition, then its application in various industries, then its advantages and some disadvantages, then its future, and finally conclusion. So introduction. So artificial intelligence is a very self-explanatory term. This is an intelligence that is artificial. Like artificial intelligence is giving the machines ability to make them intelligent, but artificially. I mean, so by artificial intelligence, we mean it is not something that they had on their own. Someone or some process made them intelligent enough to mimic human behavior or to solve simpler or even complex problems by learning, and that learning basically makes them artificially intelligent. So intelligence is the capacity to learn and solve problem. So this intelligence is in human beings. It is natural, but if we want to have machines this sort of intelligence, so there should be some process that makes them artificially intelligent, and this is the main idea which we will be talking about today. Right. So it is the artificial intelligence is a simulation of human intelligence by machine, and by making them artificial intelligence, what do they do? They they get the ability to solve problems and to act rationally, and in sometimes even to act like human beings. Like for example, we have robots these days that more or less act like human beings. Right. So definition. So we can skip the definition because artificial intelligence is nothing but the ability to make machines artificially intelligent by running them through a process which makes them intelligent, and that process is basically called the learning. And that learning has so many types. It can be simple machine learning, it can be deep learning, it can be reinforcement learning, which we'll talk about in the machine learning part. So now, before looking into the aspect that how is AI achieved, or how a person can learn AI, first we need to look into the industries that is being revolutionized by the artificial intelligence these days. So artificial intelligence is used nowadays almost in every industry. For example, it is used in the medicine. A lot of intelligent machines are nowadays being made using artificial intelligence that are helping doctors and other staff to have better, you can say, better treatment. Similarly, there is another concept that is very popular these days, which is called precision medicine. So precision medicines is also achieved by artificial intelligence, AI. And the idea behind precision medicine is that not every person deserves same treatment. Different treatment should be done as per the body of that particular patient, and the AI decides the amount of treatment that should be given to a particular person. So there are we can quote a lot of examples regarding application of AI in medicines, from precision medicines to MRI to CRT, and a lot of organs a lot of organs are being made these days that is artificial and that have the intelligence to act like human beings. So similarly, we have the applications of AI in music as well. There are a lot of music software that are for compositions or performance on and stuff like that. So all of these applications these days are being done using AI. So to cut it short, we can find the applications of artificial intelligence in almost every industry these days, be it a small industry or a large industry. We can have numerous examples from our daily life and from our surroundings, of different industries that is being revolutionized by AI, and it is in turn making our lives simpler and easier. Similarly, another very popular and very you can say very popular thing these days that is linked directly to the artificial intelligence is robots. We have physical robots like the one we can see in the picture, and similarly we have virtual robots. Like for example, if we open a website and we see a bot talking to us in the chat box, so that is also a bot which is communicating with us using artificial intelligence. For example, we have Google assistants with our mobile phones, or if we talk about the Apple, we have Siri, which can answer our questions and which can perform tasks that are spoken by us. So all of these are examples of artificial intelligence. These are the softwares, or these are the machines that are made artificially intelligence by using machine learning or using deep learning or any other technique that makes machines intelligent. So artificial intelligence has so many you can say so many applications these days. But the question is, how is artificial intelligence achieved? What are the things that are required to learn artificial intelligence? What is the roadmap? Or what if a person wants to become an AI engineer or a machine learning engineer? What is the process? So that is the thing that is important, because artificial intelligence is nothing without machine learning or deep learning or any other sort of learning. These learnings are basically the building blocks of artificial intelligence. When a machine is passed through a process of machine learning or deep learning, only then we can call it an AI machine. So we need to talk about the basic building blocks of artificial intelligence. There are many subsets of machine learning of artificial intelligence. For example, one is machine learning. We can make a machine intelligent using machine learning. We can make it intelligent using deep learning, and then some. There are some other sort of learnings as well. But the most common way to make a machine intelligent is machine learning. This is the first step, and this is the most commonly used subset of artificial intelligence that is used to make a machine intelligent. So we'll be covering machine learning in detail today, because this is the subset of artificial AI which is most commonly used, and I think that should be learned first. Uh, that should be learned first if someone is on the journey to learn machine learning. All right. So. All right. So, what is machine learning and how is it linked to artificial intelligence? So, when we talk about AI, so it is a broad term. AI is a subset of many different things. One of the subsets of artificial intelligence or AI is machine learning. Similarly, another subset is deep learning, and there are other subset of AI as well. So, what does it mean when I say a machine learning or deep learning is a subset of AI? Well, the idea behind having different subsets is that you can have that not every problem will require deep learning, not every problem will require machine learning. When we want to train a machine, when we want to make a machine artificially intelligent, we will be applying one of these techniques. It can be machine learning, or it can be deep learning, or it can be some other technique. It depends on the type of problem that we have at hand, that whether we want to apply machine learning to our problem or deep learning to our problem. All right. So, introduction to machine learning. So, what is machine learning basically? So, machine learning is also a very self-explanatory term. So, it is the process of making a machine learn. Now, how do a machine learn? It learns from the data. We provide some data to the machine, some historical data or some past data to the machine, and with the help of that past or historical data, the machine learns. There are so many. Now there are different types of learnings that are associated with machine learning. But to get started, first, the broader idea is to make a machine learn using some sort of data. That data can be of different types, which we will talk about shortly, right? So the first thing is, what is machine learning? So it is, in simple words, it is the process to make a machine learn from its environment, and that environment is basically the data that we provide to that particular machine, right? So we are in the big data era. A lot of data is being generated. Terabytes and petabytes of data is being generated every day from different sources. The data is generated from mobile, from social media, from websites, from sensors. There are a lot of sources that generates enormous data these days. Now, this data is very, very important for businesses, and in order to excel. Now, this is basically that this data contains all the information of the user. So to analyze this data, and to better understand your customer base, you need to apply machine learning on your data. For example, we can take example of Facebook. We see a lot of ads in our social media accounts, be it Facebook or YouTube or any other social media platform. So every person sees different ads based on uh, his or her you can say profile. So how is this achieved? For example, if two persons are connected, if two persons are in the same country and are connected to the same, how is it possible that both of them, even if they experiencing ads based on his or her own profile. So how is this achieved? All of this is achieved using machine learning, and this branch of machine learning is basically recommendation engine, which recommends products or ads to us based on our browsing history. So these are all examples of machine learning. All these businesses these days are making use of machine learning to have a better customer experience and to grow their business, right? So the big data era is we are having a lot of data, and to properly utilize this data for a better customer experience is basically helping businesses grow. And this has become possible due to the advancements in machine learning and AI. Right. So, so far we have talked about two things: the what is artificial intelligence and how is it used in different industries. Now, another thing that we talked about till now is the machine learning, which is basically a subset of artificial intelligence. And there are many subsets of artificial intelligence. One of them is machine learning, which is most commonly used. What is machine learning? So, machine learning is basically used to make the machines artificial intelligence. So basically, it is one of the ways to achieve artificial intelligence. Machine learning is one of the ways to achieve AI, and it is the ability to make the machines learn. And how do machine learns? What do we provide the machine to learn from? That is data. So data is the, you can say, the backbone or the critical or crucial point of the artificial intelligence or machine learning. Without data, there is no AI, there is no machine learning. Now, when we talk about machine learning, there are different types of machine learning. For example, if we want to solve a problem, so we need to apply machine learning from one of these types. Either it will be supervised, unsupervised, or reinforcement learning. So first we will talk about supervised learning. So, supervised learning is basically providing the machines a labeled data, uh, we are already aware of the output. So the machine basically learns through examples of which we know the desired output. For example, if we talk about some examples, so imagine we have a data set of pictures of cat and dog, and cat and dog, and then every picture is tagged either as cat or either as dog. So when we feed that data to the machine, so the machine sees the each and every picture, and it sees its label as well, that whether it is a cat or dog. So we are basically providing labeled data set um, to the model or to the machine, to the model basically. So it is supervised. We are basically supervising the machine, like we are explicitly telling the machine that this is the output, like this is the cat and this is. Similarly, another example that we all might be aware of is the emails. So we see a particular folder in our email which is normally named as junk or spam. So when an email arrives in our inbox, it is automatically either thrown into the inbox or into the spam. So how do Google or any other email service provider decides whether this particular email should go into the inbox or the spam folder? So it is achieved using machine learning. That particular model has been trained with billions and millions of examples, and now it is intelligent enough to throw an email either into inbox or to a spam folder. So when an email arrives, if we want to make a machine learning model which will classify the emails into spam or not spam, so we will be basically providing a data set where there will be like the data set will be like email number 1, and then its label will be spam, email number 2 not spam, email number 3 spam. So this is the labeled data set. We are supervising the model, we are already telling the model the output. So to cut it short, when a model is aware of the output, or when there are labels or in the data set. So that is supervised machine learning. Now, another example is like, okay, so to further classify the supervised, there are two type of supervised learning problems. One is classification and one is regression. So classification is a self-explanatory term. Like, this is the technique in which we classify the outputs. Like, for example, in the spam or not spam example, an email can either be spam or not spam. So there are two classes. So it will be classified into one of these classes. It will be either classified into spam or it can be classified into not spam. Similarly, another example of classifications can be credit card transactions. So a credit card transaction can be fraudulent or either it will be genuine, not fraudulent. So classification is basically we classify the results into a into one of the known outputs. Like, we are already aware of the output, of the output. So we are aware that the output will be one of these possibilities. It can be two possibilities, it can be three possibilities. For example, so when we have only two possibilities, like a picture can either be a dog or of a cat. So this is binary classification. So binary stands for two. So we only have two classes in this example. Similarly, this is another term that is used in machine learning classification is multi-classification. So in multi-classification, we have more than two classes or more than two possibilities. For example, if we are reading an article, so that article can be classified into one of the categories. So that article can be of category news, of category sports, category education, category science. So this is a multi-classification problem. In this particular example, we have multiple classes, and when we have and the case when we have only two classes, that is called binary classification. So in supervised learning and particularly in classification, we can either have a problem of binary classification or we can have a problem of multi classification. All right, then we have another problem that is called regression. So the difference between classification and regression is that in classification we know beforehand, like we are aware of the number of possibilities. We are aware that the result will be one of these possibilities. That can be 100 or even 150 or more than that. But we know beforehand that the result will not be out of these possibilities. It can be either a dog or a cat or a camel or a sheep, nothing other than this. But in regression, we have infinite possibilities. We can never ever know the exact output. This is the difference between classification and regression. In classification, output is a discrete variable. By discrete variable, we mean we are aware that result will be one of these particular possibilities, and that possibilities can be two, three, or more than that. But in the regression, we cannot predict output exactly. We can estimate it, but we cannot exactly tell the output. Like, we cannot say that, okay, in the regression the result will be one of these possibilities. No, there are infinite possibilities. And what will be the example? For example, price. So if we are predicting if, for example, temperature, if we are predicting temperature of a particular person, or of anything, of a machine or anything, so the temperature can be 94.4675 or it can be 94.5678. So there are billions and billions or infinite possibilities of continuous number. So this is the difference between classification and in the regression. We are not sure about the output. We can estimate it, but we cannot say that, okay, the result will be the result will be one of these possibilities, because there are infinite possibilities and there can be infinite answer as well. So this is the difference between the two. And one more thing, normally when you guys, or when anyone starts his or her journey of machine learning, so the classification and the regression are the most common one used in the industry. The other ones, like unsupervised or reinforcement, these are not very much used. So as far as I have seen, or as far as my knowledge and experience is based, these are the most commonly used techniques in the industry, because because most of the time we have labeled data. It is very rare that we have unlabeled data, or we have data that has not labels, and then we go for unsupervised. All right. So the difference between supervised and unsupervised is, in supervised, we supervise the machine. We tell the model or machine explicitly that this is the label for this particular data. For example, we are telling the machine beforehand that, okay, this particular email is spam and this particular is not spam, and you need to learn from it. But if we have a data but if we have data that has no labels with it, like for example, if for example, if we have 100 articles, right? And if we have 100 articles and we don't provide the categories to the machine, like for example, we don't tell the machine that article 1 is news, article 2 is science, article 3 is education. We just provide the machine with articles, and we tell the machine to categorize it for us, learn and categorize. So in this particular example, we are not giving the machine the complete data. We are not providing the machine or the model with labels. We just provide the machine with labels, and we tell the machine to learn itself from the data. Now it is up to the machine how it learns, or it is up to the algorithm being used how it learns. So this is unsupervised. We do not supervise the machine, or we do not help the machine learn. We let the machine learn itself from the data. It is up to the machine to incur or to get the features or characteristics from the data and start learning and predicting. So this is unsupervised. We don't provide. So in simple words, we don't provide labels to the with the data. We just provide the data, and it is up to the machine to learn. Or in other words, it is it is up to the machine to learn from. The machine will have to learn itself. There will be no supervision. There will be no help or no assistance in learning, right? And an example is quoted here, like I have photos and want to put them in 20 groups. Like for example, if you have 1,000 photos of different nature, some of the photos are of cats, some of dogs, some of humans, some of buildings, some of nature, and you want to categorize into 5 categories, like you want the machine to categorize into nature, humans, animals, parks, and buildings, for example. But you just provided the pictures, and the machine is not aware of anything. It doesn't know the labeling, and you just tell the machine that, okay, these are the 1,000 pictures of different categories, and I want it to be categorized into 5 categories. So now it is up to the machine to separate each and every category within those pictures and bring you the results, right? So this is the example of unsupervised. There are no labels. Another, like you can like this is the example. We just provided the data, this data that is in silver dots. So we just provided the data, and after learning, the machine was able to categorize it into 3 different categories. Like the blue dots looked similar to the machine, so it formed one group. These green dots formed another group, and these red dots formed another. Now, why are there 3 groups? Why are not there 2 groups or more than 3 groups? Or why isn't this particular dot blue and this particular dot red? Now this is another story. This is another explanation. This is up to the algorithm that is being used. But the general idea is that we just provided the data without any labels, and the machine categorized it into 3 different groups based on its learning. So this is the example of unsupervised. Now reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is basically based on the feedback mechanism. So so a machine learning model is given some data. It learns. It interacts with the data. By interaction, we mean it learns something from the data, and then a feedback is given to the model. Now, for example, if we have a machine, we provide it with some data, and based on data, the machine learning the machine learning model does some prediction. It predicts something. So based on that prediction, now a feedback mechanism will tell the model that the things that you have predicted are not up to the mark or are not good. You need to train again, and you need to provide better results. So the machine learning model again trains itself, provides predictions. Again, the feedback mechanism feeds that gives feedback to the feedback can be positive or negative. Positive feedback will be to appreciate the model that well you are doing good, and the predictions that you are trying to make are good enough. And the negative feedback can be like the predictions that you have provided are not up, are not as per the requirements, you need to improve it. So the machine learning, to in short, the machine learning model learns from the feedback. Every time it predicts something, it is provided a feedback, either positive feedback or negative, and based on that feedback the machine continues to evolve itself and continues to improve itself. So reinforcement learning is continuous improvement using feedback mechanism, and it is also rarely used. The reinforcement learning is used rarely in the industry. The main branch or the main area of focus should be supervised and then unsupervised. But again, it depends on the industry or the company that you're working at. Maybe you're working at a company that only deals in the reinforcement learning or supervised, but in general, supervised is the common one. Right. So now that we know different types of machine learning, there are some steps that are common to all the types of machine learning, that are common to supervised, that are common to unsupervised, that are generic for a machine learning problem, whether it is a problem of supervised or unsupervised or reinforcement nature. So in any machine learning problem, this is the typical flow that you will see, and basically it is a basically we can call it a data science pipeline as well, right? So this particular slide is valid for the data scientists as well and machine learning engineers as well. This is the exact same process is follows in the data science pipeline as well. So in a machine learning problem or a data science problem, the backbone or the backbone or the main area of interest is data. So if you don't have data, there is no machine learning, there is no data science, there is no AI. So the first thing is to have data. That is why the first box is labeled as data gathering. So now when it comes to data gathering, you need to understand the problem as well. For example, if let's say you are working let's say you are working at a food delivery app. Let's say you are working at Food Panda, for example. So you will have the data related to the orders of different users or customers or consumers, right? So for example, if you are working as a data scientist or a machine learning engineer at Food Panda, and your product manager reaches out to you with a problem that hey XYZ, our orders are taking too long, right? So our orders are taking too long. So can you look into can you look into this problem, right? So now the first thing is to understand the problem, that what is being asked of me in this particular data. You need to focus on the orders, the order delivery time. So the delivery time is the focus area of this particular problem. Now at Food Panda we have Panda Mart, we have a lot of other businesses at Food Panda, but you need to focus on the data that is relevant to the orders and the delivery time only. You don't need to focus on other data. So the first step is data gathering. In this particular example, what we will do, that we will extract the data from databases that is related to the orders and its delivery time only. So what does it mean? It means that whenever we are solving a machine learning or a data science problem, we need to understand the problem well enough. Now, based on that problem, we need to extract or gather the data that is relevant to the problem. We don't need to extract the data that is not relevant to the problem. So after we are sure that we have all the data that is relevant to this particular problem, the next step is to start exploring it or start cleaning it. So that is called EDA, or exploratory data analysis, in data science or in machine learning. So what is exploratory data analysis? Now this is the step that will take most of your time. So generally it is said that 70 to 80% of a data science or machine learning problem is spent on this step, the data processing. So this is the step where you basically explore the data in very much detail. You try to explore it from different aspects, from different angles, and you try to gather as many insights from data as you can. And then when you have processed the data, and when you are sure that all the processing has been done, so the next step is basically feature engineering. So I can quote some examples of data pre-processing, like in cleaning data. For example, so if you have a date time column, so you can extract, for example, if you have a column that which date the order was placed, for example. So you can extract day from that data, from that column. You can extract year, you can extract month, hour, minute, even seconds from that column, right? So, or for example, you have a currency column. So since you are working in Pakistan, for example, so you can, and if the column is in USD, so you can convert the USD currency into the PKR. So the point is that data pre-processing can involve data transformations as well. It can involve getting rid of some irrelevant columns. It can involve introducing some more columns. Now, this is the point where we basically introduce the term feature engineering. So what is a feature? So when you have a data set, so all the columns basically are features. So each column is a feature. The order date time is a feature. The order number is a feature. The order total amount is a feature. For example, the delivery boy name is a feature. Or similarly, the items that were ordered in that particular order. So each column is a feature. In machine learning terms, in machine learning world, the columns are basically called the features. Right. So now, feature engineering, when we hear the word feature engineering, so uh, we should be clear in our mind that this it has something to do with the columns. Why? Because features are basically columns, right? So feature engineering is making your data most useful. So what is feature engineering in machine learning? In machine learning, when you are solving a problem, so you will have some data set, and that data set, of course, will have some particular columns. So sometimes you will have the opportunity to add extra columns to your data set to make it more efficient. How is that done? That is done using existing columns. For example, like I gave you an example, if we have a date column, like for example, if we have a date column and the date is, let's say, 25th August 2021. So from this single column, we can extract a column day, which will have value 23. We can introduce a column month, which will have 8, and we can introduce a column year, which will have 2021 in its values. So to introduce new columns using existing columns, right? This technique is called feature engineering. So we basically engineer the features, or we basically engineer the column. Using existing columns, we try to make some more try to introduce some extra columns in our data, and this is basically feature engineering. There can be a lot of examples of feature engineering. This date column is one of the examples that is commonly used, right? So after you are done with your data gathering, and then you have cleaned your data, and then you are done with feature engineering if required. It isn't a necessary step. Your data set might not support feature engineering, right? Now is the time that now is the time to basically select a model. So based on your problem, so first of all you will look into the nature of the problem, that whether it is a supervised problem or unsupervised problem or a reinforcement learning problem. So first you need to decide between these three. For example, you are working on a email classification problem. You are given a data set of emails, and you are given that data set with labels as well, and you are asked to make a machine learning model that will classify the email into either spam or not spam category. So looking at the data set, if you find some labels in the data set, so you will know that it is a problem related to supervised learning. So you will discard the other two types, the unsupervised, and you will only focus on the supervised. Once you have decided the type of machine learning, for example, supervised, then you need to focus on the machine learning algorithms that are that are related to supervised machine learning only. Each of these types, each of these three types have its own set of algorithms. Supervised has its own set of algorithms, unsupervised is on, and reinforcement. So for example, we have decided that it is a supervised problem. Now in supervised, we need to understand that whether it is a classification problem or regression problem. So if I gave you an example of email classification, so email classification is an example of classification. So now we need to focus on the algorithms that are used for classification only. There are a lot of algorithms that are used for classification, like SVM, naive Bayes, random forest, or XGBoost, so many others, right? So this is the point where we need to decide the model, and the model of decision is based on so many things. For example, it depends on the data. If you have labeled data, you go with supervised learning. Then again in supervised, you need to decide whether classification or regression. Then for example, if you have decided to go with classification, even then there are a lot of filters or a lot of things to be considered. For example, you need to consider the size of your data. There are certain algorithms that works well with large data sets. There are certain algorithms that works well with small data sets, right? So all these things needs to be considered when we are about to shortlist or select our machine learning algorithm. And basically this is the art of selecting the right machine learning model. The size of the data is considered. Similarly, the type of problem is considered, and there can be other factors as well uh, that will lead you to choose the right machine learning model for your problem. After you have decided your machine learning model based on your experience and knowledge, for example, you decided to go with a model XYZ, which is for classification. Now is the time basically to feed the data that you prepared in this step or in this step to this particular selected XYZ model. Now this XYZ model will start learning from the data that you provide to it, and after learning, it will be available for you to make predictions. So when you are so for example, when you've trained your model, let's say your model XYZ, algorithm XYZ has been trained. Now is the time to test it. Like for example, how will this model perform with unseen data? So when you provide training data, so all that data is already visible to the model. It learns from the training data, but its actual testing will be done using test data. So that will be the data that is unseen to the model, that it will not have seen before. So when you try to make predictions, and this is the time basically when you evaluate your model. This is the time when you test the performance of your model. For example, if you are satisfied with the predictions of your model well enough, you can use it in production, or you can deploy it somewhere. But if you think that the model that has been trained is not performing well, or the performance is not up to the mark, what do we do now? So now we need to retrain the model with different criteria, with different techniques. Now another I think maybe okay. Right. So we have already talked about the data gathering. Like data gathering can be from different sources. You can gather data from your database. You can gather data from internet. You can gather data using surveys, using feedback forms, or any other. It depends on the type of problem that you have at hand. Similarly, the pre-processing. So the pre-processing has so many examples. Our data can have missing values. For example, there is a column. For example, if we have 1,000 rows, so a column can have 900 values, and the 100 will be missing of that particular column. So how do we deal with the missing values? So we either should we delete the column with missing values, or should we replace it with some values? So it is another discussion. It depends on the problem at hand, and it depends on the scenario. And then if for example, if we have more than 70 or 80% of values missing in a column, then of course we will drop that column, we will delete that column, because most of its values are missing. Similarly, another pre-processing technique can be outliers. Like for example, we can see in this graph, all of these dots follow this line pattern, but one of the dots is far away from the all other data sets. So this is an outlier. So the outlier is basically a data point that is far away from other data. So what we do, we simply remove the outliers because it affects our analysis and it affects the performance of the machine learning model. Similarly, we can have bad encoding for the text. We can have text that is misspelled, or we can have text with grammatical mistakes. So in the pre-processing step, we take care of all these things: the missing values, outliers, bad coding, wrongly labeled example. For example, if we have a set of apples and oranges, for example, so there can be a data point. There can be a row for apple which is labeled as orange, or there can be a row for orange that is labeled as apple. So we need to correct it. This is also a pre-processing step. So in pre-processing, we basically clean data, and cleaning has so many aspects like missing values, outliers, wrongly labeled example, biased data, and many others, right? So we need to fix this data, or we need to remove this data. It depends on the scenario whether we will fix it or remove it. So this is some of the examples, or this is some of the techniques that we have in processing. There are many others. Feature engineering is again basically splitting your columns into some other columns are represented by the set of features, right? So feature engineering is playing around with your features to introduce some new features or to make enhancements to the existing one. And feature is nothing but your columns. If you have 10 columns, it means you have 10 features. And if you have 20 columns, that will simply mean you have 20 features in your data set. In machine learning world, a column is simply called a feature. Okay, feature engineering also feature engineering has another aspect as well. For example, if you have 20, for example, initially, if you have 20 columns in your data set, so it is not necessary that all of the columns will be relevant for a machine learning model. Maybe out of those 20, only 10 are relevant for the model, and we will have to discard the other 10. So this is also another aspect to consider, that not all columns are relevant to your analysis or to your machine learning model. You will have to, based on your domain knowledge or based on your experience and knowledge, you will have to choose wisely between the columns. Maybe all of the columns are relevant, or maybe some of the columns are relevant and the others need to be discarded or dropped or deleted, in other words, right? Now, algorithm selection, we have already discussed it. Like, for example, we have supervised, we have a lot of algorithms in the supervised family: linear classifier, naive Bayes, SVM, decision trees, random, KNN. By supervised, we mean it can be a classifier as well, it can be a regressor as well, because classification and the regression both are part of supervised. Similarly, if you have decided that if you think that your problem is of unsupervised nature, so this unsupervised has its own family of algorithms, and similarly reinforcement has its own set of algorithms. So you need to choose between. So for example, if you have decided to go with supervised, now you can see there are a lot of algorithms. So how will you decide between these algorithms? There are hundreds of algorithms other than these 5 or 6. So how do we decide which one to proceed with? So here you will look at the size of your data, the nature of your data. Similarly, similarly you will decide whether it is classification or regression. These are the things that will help you finalize a model. All right, algorithm selection and training. So yeah, so now when you first time train your model and when you predict, so what you do, you observe its performance. So if its performance is not good, you adjust it. So by adjustment we mean, so there's another concept introduced, that is hyperparameter tuning. So every machine learning model has some parameters with it. That parameters basically are basically, you can say, the tuning of, basically to tune the model. Like for example, just like we tune any other machine. So there are certain knobs, we tune the knob, and frequency changes or the adjustments are made. So similarly, that the machine learning has also a concept of tuning, which is hyperparameter tuning. We change the values of hyperparameter. We were discussing the algorithm selection and training, right? So when we have trained our model, so it is not necessary that it will perform very well. So if it's not performing well, you need to adjust its values, the values of its hyperparameters, like this. So let me quickly show you an example of hyperparameters to just to give you an idea. For example, if we talk about the SVM, right? So it is an algorithm. So this is the official page of this model. These are the hyperparameters. There will be some. Okay, let me hyperparameters, right? Or let me the famous one is XGBoost. So yeah, XGBoost. Yeah. So if we, so this is one of the the algorithm that is being used. So if we talk about this hyperparameter, so it has a lot of parameters that we can tune or that we can adjust, like this. So like we have a parameter of booster is a parameter that can have many values. Similarly, there's another parameter called verbosity, another parameter called validate, and number of features. So basically this is the set of parameters that is for this particular algorithm. Similarly, every algorithm has its own set of hyperparameters. So we keep on changing the values of these parameters to in order to improve the performance of models, right? So every algorithm has its own set of hyperparameters that we can tune or that we can adjust to make the performance of machine learning model better and even better, right? So this is a cycle which is repeatedly performed until you are satisfied with the results of your model, right? Okay, so making predictions. So making prediction is basically, so making prediction comes after the training phase. It is also called the testing phase, right? So when you have trained your model, now is the time to basically test the performance of your model, right? So this is basically the cycle that we just discussed. So we provide samples, feature extractions, and then machine learning model, and then we train it. Similarly, we do predictions, we look at the performance, and then we adjust the hyperparameters, we train it again, and this cycle continues until we are satisfied with the predictions. Okay, now for example, you are satisfied with the results of your machine learning model. You say that, okay, my model is performing well enough. So what is the next step? So the next step is that to consider that at every day new data will be arriving for your model, right? So every day new data will be generated, but your model is trained on old data only. So how do we train this model with the new data as well, and how do we deploy this model? These are the two questions. So for example, if you have trained your model on all the data that was available up till today, like 23rd August. So what about the data that will start coming from tomorrow onwards? So how will you? So it will that your machine learning model will miss on new data. So this is an important aspect to consider, that we need to continuously keep training our model on the incoming data, and the different techniques are used. For example, we can set a schedule that, for example, we can say that we will train our model every Saturday or every Sunday. Like you will train our model once a week or once a month or once a year or twice a year. So the frequency depends on the problem at hand, right? So after training, number one thing to do is to keep on training model with your new incoming data, number one. And number two, you need to make use of this model. You need to monitor its performance. And for example, it can be the case that the performance decreases with new data. So there is a need to monitor the performance and make changes accordingly, right? And the final step is to deploy it, to store it somewhere where you can use it for your predictions. The deployment is basically storing it storing it somewhere, then accessing it for prediction. So you can deploy it on cloud, or you can deploy it on your local machine, or some other web server. It can be anything. So these are all the steps that are involved in a machine learning, or in other words, a data science problem. You start with the data collection. The collection can be from different sources. Then you data pre-processing. The data pre-processing involves cleaning, for dealing with the grammatical mistakes or the wrongly labeled examples. So these are all examples of pre-processing. Then feature engineering, if required. It is not a necessary step. Then when you have made your data ready for the machine learning model, the next step is to decide a model. Again, it depends on the size of data, it depends on the nature of the problem, and some other factors as well. And then making predictions. And after making predictions, observing the performance of your model, and and keep training your model with the latest data, so that it may perform as per your new data, right? And similarly deploying it somewhere. So these are the steps or the phases in a machine learning. Now the next thing is deep learning. We will not be touching deep learning because we don't have enough time. And secondly, machine learning phase is, I think, the first one to start with. Now we have discussed AI and machine learning. So the question is, how do I learn machine learning? Like, where do I start from, or what are the things that are required in order to learn these things and apply these things? This is an important question. So there are a lot of resources available. So first, let's talk about the tools and technologies that are required. Okay, so first I'll talk about the programming language. So the programming languages for machine learning are the two most commonly used are R and Python. Python being the dominant one. Python is used very is used on a large scale, and it is dominant over the R language, right? So how do you decide if you want to proceed with Python or R? So R is basically kind of for non-technical. Like, for example, if you know nothing about programming, so it is sort of for the statisticians or the mathematicians. So for the non-technical people. For the technical people, Python would be the way to go. And Python should be used because it has a large community support, and it has a lot of help and online resources available on the internet. So after deciding the programming language to proceed with, you can choose it as per your ease. It can be R, it can be Python, or it can be any other language if it supports machine learning or stuff like that. So the first thing is machine learning. Python is generally used in the industry. So it is and it is the most in-demand language for data science and machine learning as compared to R, as far as my knowledge and my experience is concerned, right? The next thing is probability and statistics. So if you want to embark on your journey to machine learning, if you want to start your machine learning journey, so you cannot imagine it without maths. Math is extremely important. Machine learning is nothing but statistical models, right? The machine learning models are basically statistical models, or in other words, it is you'll have to deal with a lot of statistics and probability and linear algebra. So these three areas are the one that you need to learn if you want to be a machine learning engineer, if you want to understand data science properly, right? So you cannot just rely on the programming language if you don't have the understanding. If you don't understand the model, you cannot improve it, right? If for example, if you are not aware of the meaning of a hyperparameter, so how would you tune it? How would you know which value to adjust it to? So the programming language, you need to have a grip on a programming language. Can be Python, it can be R, and you need to have solid understanding of probability, statistics, and linear algebra. Specifically, statistics is the most common one, right? And the third thing, and which is even more important than the programming and the maths, is domain knowledge. So domain, for example, if you are an excellent statistician, and if you have and you are an excellent programmer, and you are hired as a data scientist by a healthcare company, but you know nothing about health, you're not aware of any terminology of health. So how would you survive there as a data scientist? They will provide you data. They will provide you with the health data. So when you look at the data, you won't be able to understand the terminologies that are related to health, even though you are good at statistics and programming, but you know nothing about health domain. So the domain knowledge is extremely important, right? This is the most important things in a machine learning or data science journey. The understanding of data, in other words, domain knowledge, or in other words, the solid understanding of your data is extremely important. And then is programming and statistics and other things. So basically, three machine it is a journey of three things: domain knowledge, programming, and mathematics, which is basically probability, stats, and linear algebra, right? So these are the things I think that are important. So and the one last thing that I would like to, then we can move to the question answer session, is where to learn these things from. So as I have done many courses, but my favorite courses so far have been basically there is a specialization from IBM, that is basically a professional certificate from IBM, that is named as IBM Data Science Professional Certificate. I can share the link so you can have it for free from IBM. It is the courses are free from IBM, and even you will have the certificate of completion as well. This is a certificate of 9 courses which will teach you the basics of data science. It will teach you Python in detail. It will teach you data analysis in detail. It will teach you data visualization in detail, and it will teach you machine learning in detail. And it also has a capstone project that will test all of the things that you will learn in the previous courses. So I'll share a link. I'll share a link with the organizers, and maybe they can